I never wanted it to go like this, you know? I was a fan of Dave. I didn't set out to do anything other than be friends with him. You know, a lot of people don't seem to really understand, like, the gravity of this situation. I mean, the only words I can really use for it are irrational and, like, repugnant. Yes, I am just some little stupid podcaster, but this is more to do with the lies and deception from Dave Smith. I mean, you can call me a conspiracy theorist if you want. I don't really like that term. I don't think it really applies here, but if you look at all these different things, from Porkfest to the Break the Cycle incident to now with the internet dropping out, you know, how many of these things can just be coincidences? If this is the way he's treating people like me, how do you think he's gonna treat people like Joe Sixpack once he becomes the president of the United States? Is that really the type of leadership that this party or this caucus or this country needs right now? I've gotten a lot of pushback for the way I've handled this, and I think I've been nothing but fair in this whole ordeal. I like to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, you know. I try to give everybody a fair shake, but you can only take so much.
I'll make questionable decisions of the impact of all I saw.
All right, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome back to the least comfortable show on the web. It's The System is Down, and if you haven't noticed, the system has been down. The system has been quite down for the last week, and it might be up right now. It might be a little grainy. It might not be exactly perfect and ideal, but the system is functioning as far as I can tell. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that and everything that's happened over the last week and a day, because it's been a long-ass time. It's been way longer than it normally is before, in between doing these, but the internet problem, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about all that here in just a moment. Buckle up, go get the word out, because I was short notice putting this out there. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do this today. So if you want to party with me, go share it with somebody, and let's give people a little bit more time to come in here, and let's get weird.
All I ask is, if we have to give these bastards our lives, we give them hell before we do.
The tragedy of our day is the climate of fear in which we live.
Talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing.
But ask the congressman to withdraw that comment and tell us that he didn't really mean that. I don't know what I said. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
The Bible commands that certain people be put to death.
Thieves were possessing weapons of mass destruction. 9/11 attacks were carried out by Al-Qaeda.
Handle the truth. I remember that with Matthew Moses. We are still here.
We have to say yes to social justice.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
It's a big old club, and you ain't in it. Welcome back. How are y'all doing? I hope you've all had a better week than I've had. All in all, it wasn't that bad, really, but you probably know the Dave Smith story. You don't have to spend too much time covering it. The weather. It was the weather this time that allegedly took it out. But Dave, who controls the weather, Dave? So here's my conspiracy right off the bat. I'm gonna get people triggered right out the gate here. If you're new here, that's kind of our thing apparently. But we tell the jokes that some people don't like, and then we talk about news and stuff. And we're gonna get into news. Kill the music. All right, that's enough. So Dave Smith we've had this back and forth going on for like 6 months now, where he's saying that he's going to come on the show and then he doesn't come on the show, and I lose contact with him, and I've been calling him a coward, rightly so, for obvious reasons. And then we finally set it up after I do this attack ad and all that, and then we finally set it up and we have a date planned out, and wouldn't you know it, that date, the morning of, my internet stops working. I know you could say that that's a me problem, that's my fault, and I'm the coward for not showing up. I offered to do it as a pre-record. I think that might have worked, and then we could have released it after, but hey, Shannon's here. Hey, Shannon. Shannon, how's everything looking? Is it good enough? I know it's a little pixely, a tiny bit, but my upload speed seemed to be good, so the actual thing shouldn't be lagging like shit today like it has been recently. Yeah, so the weather... We were in like -6 degree temperatures, and I'm told that that shouldn't affect it. I'm told it by everybody but Mediacom. Of course, Mediacom thinks that that's the issue. Long story short, the weather is what took it out. But Dave, who controls the weather? My conspiracy theory is that Dave contacted some of his friends down there at Old Harp or something to that effect and got them to shut the thing down so he wouldn't have to do it. Will that happen tomorrow? Is it tomorrow? I guess it has been already announced. We are scheduled for tomorrow. Dave is supposed to be coming on tomorrow evening at the same time, 7:30 Corn time, p.m. Upload is good. No lagging. Booyah. That deserves one of these. All right. So... yeah, and sorry for the late notice. Sorry for doing this on the wrong day and everything. I didn't want to do it. Once again, I didn't want to do it on Wednesday because that's when Dave will be coming on at night. That's why I didn't do it last Wednesday. I did it on Monday, and now we're like a week and a day into this thing, and so much has happened that we got to cover. But we are doing Dave. We're doing him dirty tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. Corn time. So be on the lookout for that if all goes according to plan. I did notice, I made note, I know that there's severe weather coming through the area tomorrow, coincidentally, and I do have assurance. The internet man was here earlier today. I do have assurance from him that that they had worked on something. So he initially called me and said, well, I don't think anybody worked on anything over the last couple days, but everybody in your area is having this exact same problem. So it's not a me problem, at least. We know that. It is a them problem. And he's like, I'm pretty sure it has to do with the weather. He's like, if somebody was out there working on it, then I would have a little bit more assurance. Because I told him, I've got this thing going on tomorrow that I would really like to have internet for. And he's like, well, I can't necessarily guarantee that. But he said that he would look into it and find out if somebody was working on it. Because if somebody worked on it, then it would be a little bit more promising that this thing didn't... like, if it just worked itself out, there's no telling whether it will stay or leave or not work at all. I guess that's how ISPs work. They just on a wish and a prayer sometimes. But, yeah, he did call me back. I told him to call me back. That's why we started late today. I was going to start at 2. We started late because I was waiting on this guy to call me back and let me know. Because I wanted to know, was it fixed by somebody? Or will there, can I take that off my shoulders, out of the back of my mind, that this will happen again on the same day? And he assured me that, yeah, maybe. It might be, probably, possibly fixed. That is the level of assurance. Showing up between 1 and 5 p.m., block out your entire day, and after I come, it may or may not be possibly maybe fixed. That is the level of care there. But the guy's cool. I have no problem with the guy. He was really as helpful as he could be. I guess it's just their service. I feel like they should have better answers to questions than, well, it wasn't working and now it's working. Are we all good? Because that's what happened last time, and then, as we all know, it didn't continue working after they left. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. That's catch you up to speed there. But what else is going on in the world? We'll get to it. Before we do, I got to remind you guys, all our sponsors, and I know that there's one. There's one that just joined that I don't have on this list. Let me see if I can find it in my emails. Who is it? I have to check the old Patreon. We'll get back to you. But to everybody else, the show is brought to you by you. People like Magoo, Alex W., Break the Bells, Something, Gigi Vaughn, Lisa Debus, Victoria Berger, Joanne Schiffler, Dickie Walnuts, Lauren Carter, Level Zero, Carolina B., Kyle Evans, Ryan Mortensen, Mitchell, Caswell Davis, Johnson, Tim Brown, Aaron Stewart, Howie Snowden, Trenton Campbell, John Barnhouse, and others. If you'd like to get your name on that list and possibly get your name read, go on over to patreon.com/thesystemIsdown, where you'll get not just your name possibly read, but you'll get more weird, more raw, more offensive, more weekly content, bonus episodes of the show every single week. I gotta got to go fast because we got a lot to get through, and we're starting late today. So allegedly, we're going to go fast today, but you know always how that goes. Bonus episodes of the show. If you like the show, you're not allowed by YouTube to help monetize this thing through like super chats and the normal means and methods that live streamers usually get funded through. So I do have to go to Patreon because YouTube hates me and Patreon doesn't yet. So consider supporting there for as little as the cost of one super chat a month. That is $5 a month, and you'll get a whole bunch of bonus content, all of our backlog, and weekly stuff, including today's after party, which we are doing. And I have a whole big long thing, big long docket lined up for you guys in the after party. So check it out. And you can join the live stream as well, but you got to get in there first. Patreon.com/the system is down. Thank you. Also, we are sponsored by, all my stuff's moved around here too, so bear with me. Last week when we had the technical issues, I was like frantically, I spent the entire last Wednesday just trying to fix this problem, not knowing. You always think there's something I can do, right? There's something I can do to make this better, but there wasn't. And so in my frantic haste, I think I moved some things around, so we'll see how this goes. But Jack Casey at jackcaseybooks.com is a sponsor of the show, the awesome and wonderful Jack Casey. He was on the show last week, just hanging out, chatting about the news, chatting about flat earth and fun stuff. If you want to get Jack Casey's, any of his books, like Crowned by Gold, In Silver Throne, The Royal Green, or his latest and my favorite because it's short enough for me to read, WVW, go get that at jackcaseybooks.com. Tell him we sent you. I don't know how you're going to tell him, but tell him we sent you. I've got it right here. It's the only book I think I've read as an adult, basically. And it's great because it's short and it's funny and it's dark and it's nice and fun and triggering. All right, go get it at jackcaseybooks.com. We're also sponsored by, Kratom, Free Ounce of Kratom, and all that stuff. Go get a Free Ounce of Kratom at freeounceofkratom.com and 5% off all the products with promo code TSID. All right, there's that. And get shirts in the shirt store. Shirts like the, where is it? The Ryle Kittenhouse Defense Attack Cats shirt. You can get the Revolution will not be televised, it will be podcasted. That is, unless Neil Young has anything to say about it. Am I right? You can get I Find Your Hysteria Hysterical, and I'm tired of pretending it's not, which seems even more relevant than ever, given the Neil Young circumstances that we're going to talk about later. And much, much more. You can get all the shirts over at thesystemisdown.tv/store. That also helps support this show. If you like this thing and want to keep it going and getting more Dave Smiths than ever, then consider supporting in one of these ways. But that's enough for that. If you're not familiar with how this works, we go together and explore and read the news, and we look out the window at the world as it burns. We point at it and laugh at it. We laugh at the king until his bare bottom is nice and blistered from the spankings. But okay, so we've got a lot on the docket. We've got a lot. It's been a week. I've got some new blue light blocking glasses. That's what these are. Not blue blocks because I don't support anything that Dave Smith does, except coming on this show tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. corner time. Yeah, that's the reason for the new digs, because I was having some eye strain. It seemed like some headaches, and we'll see if this works. They're just like cheap Amazon ripoffs, but that's whatever. I support China, right? So there's some stuff happening in the world. Typically we start out with the good news, as you know, and today's good news. So we start out with the good news to really set the tone, set the precedent of what you can expect here, and then we pull the rug out from under you. Spoiler alert, it's going to get dark. But we start out with the good news to make sure you guys are happy and comfortable and docile. But did you hear about the new Snow White remake? Yes, of course. We are there. We are down to Snow White. We've gone through them all the important ones that people remember and like. And now we're down to Snow White. The good news is, for all you people out there who are asking for more diversity for diversity's sake, Snow White is going to be brown. Yeah. Snow White's going to be brown. Now, I don't frankly give a shit. I don't care. It just seems like if you're gonna race swap any of the Disney characters, Snow White, where her color is actually in her name, what is the white in reference to? What is the snow in reference to, if not her skin color? She was very, very pale. That was always the story, right? I don't care, but it seems like an odd choice to make Snow brown. Snow brown. Now that's the good news. Obviously, that's helpful. But the bad news is that famed and esteemed midget actor. Nope, that's the wrong button. Why are you not doing the thing that I'm telling you to do here? Yes, I am alive. Thank you. Peter Dinklage, teeny tiny little dinky Dinklage, calls Disney's Snow White remake backward. This is the good news, because anytime a little person gets angry, it's just so funny. It's so adorable. Now I don't have any issue with his height. It just makes it funnier. Obviously, does anybody really have an issue with height? Are there really heightists out there? I'm genuinely asking. I am curious. It's not something sure, it's kind of funny that you're a person but smaller. That's funny. My wife's pretty short and I make fun of her for it. My friend is very tall and I make fun of him for it. I'm just your average man. I am the base generic standard character in the video game that you start out with. But this is just it's kind of funny, not just for multiple reasons. We'll talk. Okay, so the actor said on a podcast that he was stunned to learn that Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs would be made into a live-action film. Disney said Tuesday that it was consulting with members of the dwarfism community. Now that I find funny, personally, that just this idea that the CEO of Disney is going and just sitting down with a council of little people, it's great. It's a beautiful visual, very Disney-esque, I would say. Quote, I was sort of taken aback, Peter Dinklage said, of finding out that Disney was remaking Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. On Monday's episode of Mark Maron's WTF podcast, the Game of Thrones star Peter Dinklage said he was stunned and shocked to learn that Disney was doing a live-action remake of the 1937 animated film Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and more so that Disney was proud to announce that it had cast a Latina actress, Rachel Zegler, she's from West Side Story, I guess, as the lead. So, Latina actress, is she going to be white Latina or is she going to be brown Latina? Because, that can kind of go different ways. Literally no offense to anything, but I was sort of taken aback, said Dinklage. Isn't it funny that his name is Dinklage? His name even sounds like it's the name of a tiny person. Is it like when you have somebody with the last name Smith or whatever, and it was their characteristics or their what they did, their profession, their career? A blacksmith might have ended up with the last name Smith, and we've got Dinklage. Was his family just all midgets, and they were all that name came at some point down the lineage out of the fact that they were tiny? Because it sounds like a descriptor as well. Little teeny tiny Dinklage, who won 4 Emmys for his role in the HBO fantasy epic. They were very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White, but you're still telling the story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Take a step back and look at what you're doing there. It makes no sense to me. You're progressive in one way, he continued, but you're still making it that fucking backward story about 7 dwarfs living in a cave together. Sounds to me like he is homophobic, right? He doesn't like that there's a bunch of little men living in a cave together. Dude, we're talking about fantasy dwarfs. Not real dwarfs in real life. You don't have to call yourselves dwarfs. I always thought it was weird that we call people dwarfs and then we have dwarfs in mythology and stuff that are actually magical creatures. I don't assume that Peter Dinklage is a magical creature living in a cave or something. But Gimli, he definitely doesn't look like that either. Gimli's not even short. Gimli is short compared to the tall, lanky elves, but he's pretty tall compared to the hobbits. So I'm not sure if Disney's rendition of a magical dwarf is exactly what we should be taking offense to. Not to mention, Peter Dinklage got a role as a character who just happens to be a midget. It doesn't really, to my understanding, I don't watch Game of Thrones. I'm not into Lord of the Rings porn. That if that's your thing, so be it. I don't kink shame, but I'm not into it. Now, Peter Dinklage got this role and then made a fantastic career out of it. And then he's kind of pulling the ladder up, the teeny tiny little ladder up behind him, is he not? Like, how many, midget actors do you think there have been that wanted roles like that, where they're just a badass character and it doesn't even necessarily have anything to do with their height? He's kind of taken away their opportunities to get into acting at all. I'm sure it's as difficult as it is for normal people. It's probably much harder for little people, I would imagine. So this is kind of shitty. He took away the jobs from like seven, right? 7 little people could have had jobs with Disney. But it's okay. It's okay because Disney, completely unrelated according to them, to avoid Disney on Tuesday, the day after, they say that it didn't have anything to do with Peter Dinklage coming out and throwing a teeny tiny little fit, but they said to avoid reinforcing stereotypes from the original animated film, we are taking a different approach with these 7 characters and have been consulting with members of the dwarfism community. Disney added that the film was still a long way out from production. So it has nothing to do with Peter Dinklage throwing a teeny tiny little fit, but the very next day they're like, yeah, no, it's Snow Brown and the 7 creatures now, or whatever the hell. It's gonna go great, I'm sure, with all the things that people loved removed from it. That has worked out for them so many times. But Peter Dinklage, you are a tiny little schmuck. It's all the things that you have done. Like, you are the guy who was in Elf with the joke about little people calling you an angry elf, and that's really what you are. I think that this is actually a viral marketing campaign, and Peter Dinklage is actually doing this viral marketing. That's why it's starting before any of this stuff comes out. He's throwing a teeny tiny little fit about it, and the reason is because he's doing a viral marketing campaign to let everybody know that he is actually playing Grumpy. So, congratulations, Peter, on your success and your ability to remove that ability from other teeny tiny little people. But my small hat goes off to you all, and I wish you the best, but stop fucking it up for everybody. What else do we got? So this happened. Speaking of teeny tiny little people, creepy people. Not that midgets are. Never mind. This happened. This is the mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, who had this beautiful message here. If you're listening to the audio version, if you haven't seen this, it's quite beautiful. She is dressed as though she is a Batman villain character. She looks like one because her eyes are sunken in like the little shrunken head from Ghostbusters, Beetlejuice. And on the floor, she has laid out in fiat paper currency, "Get Vaxxed," VAX''D. Apparently, they couldn't afford an E, but this came out. This message is clear. Get vaccinated from the comfort of your home, and this stack could be yours. Get these fat stacks, bro, because we're still bribing. Going the bribe route. That's worked so well over the last 2 years. So you can call and make an appointment and help protect Chicago by getting vaxxed for Mayor Lori Lightfoot. Definitely not a crime villain. Definitely not a drug salesman. Drug dealer. Like, I made the meme. I don't have it pulled up, but I made the meme of this image of her in 2022 and then the image of her in 2024, which is Huel from Breaking Bad laying on the pile of cash, and the head is replaced with the Beetlejuice thing. Beetlejuice thing, yeah. My daughter is texting me, so I'm going to text her back real quick because I'm still a dad. Okay, cool. We good. Moving on. No, there's more to that story. Obviously. Let's check the comms first. Let's see. No, don't ban somebody. Man, that ban button is really conveniently located there. I suppose that could come in handy at some point. Yes, Shannon says, that's your home girl. Yes, I am in Illinois. Justico Mitchell says, Vax Stacks does have a nice ring to it. Yes, it does. And CD McRae says, do people like her? Like, for real? You know, that's a great question. And I'm starting to wonder if are any of these people legit elected? Because who actually likes these people? I've yet to meet somebody in real life who likes Gavin Newsom or Lori Lightfoot or Gretchen Whitmer or anybody like that. I don't know. But yeah, as I dug into this story, it just got weirder and weirder because I pulled up this from the Western Journal, and they're talking about this image, but some things that they referenced, I was like, what are you even referencing? And I dug into it, and it gets weird. It gets real weird. Let's see. If Chicago Mayor Lori this is from westernjournal.com, so you know it's legit. If Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot didn't exist, the television sitcom Parks and Rec would have invented her. Would have had to invent her. Jeez. I mean, just think about it. In one episode, Parks and Rec, Universe Lightfoot, mayor of a town that neighbors Pawnee, Indiana, no doubt, has an idea to get people to take the census. It's horseback riding activist called Census Cowboy who rides a horse and tries to get people to fill out the form. Yes, the Census Cowboy thing, I like read through this and I was like, what the hell are you guys even talking about? Is this like, I'm not familiar that much with the Western Journal or anything, but I was like, are you guys just like so politically one-sided that you're just making a ridiculously long, obscure joke that I don't understand? And then I dug into it more and found the what they were referencing. Oh, and they also shared 5 Times August tweet, which makes them good people. I found it. I found the Consensus Cowboy is actually a real thing. This is an ad going around to get people to fill out their form for the census. And it's not just an ad. It is more. Where is the video? There is a video of Lori Lightfoot putting the frickin' green hat on. I can't find it. I thought I had it pulled up. 1 second. Let me see if I can find it. It's absolutely bizarre. And she's just doing like a press conference, and it literally does feel like something from Parks and Rec. She reaches down and pulls out this neon green cowboy hat and says, if you see the what was it, the Census Cowboy, make sure you get your shit filled out or whatever. But yeah, giddy up Chicago. Mayor Lightfoot makes utterly odd move to deploys Census Cowboy to the streets. It has to be in here. Give me a second here. That is a GIF. This is the other video. Yeah, whatever. It's real, though. He's there, and he rides up on a horse wearing a cowboy hat, and it is laughably creepy. All these things. Like, who is sitting down with the mayor of Chicago and the board and everything and going, you know what? I've got an idea. What if we got the Consensus Cowboy? Let's make a Consensus Cowboy who goes around taking people's information. That seems like a great idea. And then the next week they're like, you know, it would be a great marketing idea because Census Cowboy went so great. How about we just make you look like an evil drug dealer pimp hoe and tell people to get faxed in money? That'll work. That'll get them $845. You could win almost $1,000, not quite, almost $1,000 if you go out and take an experimental vaccination. I can't find that video, but we're going to watch something else here that is somewhat related. This was going around. This is apparently the census. I keep wanting to say consensus. The Census Cowboy in real life. Somebody is passing him. And mind you, strong language if you care. I would imagine you want to be here by now if you cared. But here's this. Oh, let's open it on Twitter, because why would we want to play it?
You fucking horse, man. Shut the fuck up.
So this guy's pulling up on the Census Cowboy.
You a horse? You a police officer or something? No, fuck the police. Shut the...
It apparently goes on to say, what's the fuck 12 or whatever. Yeah, fuck 12 and fuck the police. So this is your Census Cowboy. Real happy, fun, children's-y type idea here. Why does that button not do what I'm telling it to? I got to reconfigure all my buttons, apparently. But, yeah. What are your thoughts? Let me know your thoughts of Census Cowboy. Has he swayed you to fill out your census forms, or have you seen him? Have you spotted him in the Chicagoland area cursing about police? Or, better yet, have you seen the villain known as Lori Lightfoot, who is some sort of... Where is it? Some sort of something like this. Oh, come on. I don't need the replies. That was the shortest GIF ever. Okay. Yeah, Joker GIF. They also pointed out that why is her couch like real fucking dingy right here? I think somebody even pointed it out in one of the tweets. Let me see. Honest God question, what the hell is that? Somebody asks. The Batman villain vibe isn't the only preternaturally off thing about this tweet. We had to clean up the tweet, blah, blah, blah. So this guy says, WTF, and he's just pointing out the dingy couch. And apparently she came out and explained that it has something to do with her dog, which is named Snowy. I did not plan this to be the thing right after the Snow White thing necessarily, but, you know. The simulation intern Steve has a bit of a, you know, I just ate lunch, Shannon says. Shannon, when you say things like, ugh, I like, my brain instantly goes to, crap, that fucking stream isn't working. But no, I guess we're good. Yeah, so, dirty couch, and she tries to explain it, and it seems weird. Again, in a vacuum, this is weird, but in Lightfoot's universe, this is another not infrequent self-own. So, yeah, lots of stuff. Oh, here it is. I think this is the Census Cowboy. Yep. Let's see if it plays. Of course it won't. Let's open it. Here we go. This is beautiful. Just wait. Here it comes.
Report. I'm calling out the Census Cowboy.
Oh, God. It is so cringe.
So, if you see the Census Cowboy coming to your neighborhood, that's not a good thing. That means you gotta step up and do your part and make sure that you fill out the census.
Oh, man. I like how in this clip that they pulled, too, it's right when she's reaching down. So it just looks like she's emerging from beneath the podium with a hat.
And I'm happy to report I'm calling out
Oh,
the
God.
Census Cowboy.
Oh, God. Oh, man. So, some people got together and decided that's what we're doing. That'll get them. Wow. This world, man, I tell you what. Some people are stupid. Speaking of stupid people, let's talk about some of the least interesting people in all of the elitism. And that's, well, Jimmy Fallon obviously is up there with some of the best of the least interesting people. And joining him recently on his show to talk about NFTs and the joys of NFTs, of course, was the least interesting person possibly in the entire world, which is Paris Hilton. And here's what happened. Just watch this, and while you're watching this, just think about, like, the dude, the talk show host on the Hunger Games, where they're like, hey, isn't it great that we're, like, I've been watching the Hunger Games with my daughter recently. They're creepy as hell to rewatch now, but yeah, just imagine the Hunger Games talk show host where it's like, oh, how did you survive? Isn't it so great? Oh, you've got a nice, romance. And how about NFT monkeys and elite things that billionaires do? Like, just to have that in the back of your mind while you watch this stunning and beautiful performance here.
Last time you were on the show, I asked you to explain NFTs, and you did so in a great way, which is a very hard thing to really explain to a lot of people. But
I know that they have these things planned out, and he's having a really hard time still making this interesting or making it feel natural. And it gets worse, but just like as you're watching it, just think, they do dress rehearsals, they do run-throughs of these things, that everything they're going to talk about. They can't act surprised about something that they pull out from behind their desk like they didn't know it was there.
Since then, Forbes has named you one of the top 50 most influential people in the NFT space. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
Know what you're doing.
Thank you. I'm so proud. I love being...
If you were wondering about the importance and the longevity of NFTs, Paris Hilton is known as was deemed by Forbes to be one of the lead, what did he say? Lead voices for NFTs or something like that. Like, that means something. And if somebody disagrees with me on this, I'm not against blockchain, crypto, all that stuff. I know libertarians love it, and it is. I think that it has value to, like, Bitcoin in itself has value to be the future currency and all that fun stuff. But NFTs are like a JPEG with a certificate, and maybe I'm not entirely understanding, or maybe I'm too stupid to really understand, but I don't understand. I don't understand how it's not a JPEG and a certificate. And maybe it's a GIF. Maybe it's a slightly moving JPEG or slightly moving image or whatever and a certificate. But that's my understanding.
Part of this community and being a voice and sharing my platform and just getting the word out there because I think it's just such an incredible thing to be a part of.
Yeah, I jumped in.
I know, I heard. I'm so happy I taught you what they were.
You did. You taught me what's up, and then I bought an ape.
I'm so glad. I'm so happy that I taught you what these things are. Yes, you taught me what these things are. Yeah. Did you buy the ape? Yes, I bought the ape. Oh, let's look at your ape. Wow, this is.
I got an ape
so
too
dumb.
because I saw you on the show with people and
I
you
got
got
an
on
ape
MoonPay, so I
too.
went and I copied you and did the same thing.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
This is your
mine.
ape. We debuted.
Wow, he didn't know it was there. He's completely shocked. That's not his desk he's sitting at. This isn't his show. He just goes into it blind and has no idea what he's going to be talking about or what's sitting behind his desk for him to pick up. Oh, this is your ape. Wow.
Cool. Like the hat, the shades.
Now what? How did you pick? Because you can pick your ape.
Yes, I was going through a lot of them, and I was like, I want something that like kind of reminds me of me, but this one, it does.
Like that's the extent of her response to like they can't even pretend like this is interesting themselves. So you got this ape. Yeah, I got this ape, and I wanted to get one that like kind of reminded me of me, and it does.
We made like another version of it where he takes the hat off and blonde hair comes out. So,
Yeah, because you can do it now whatever you want.
animated version.
We're part of the same.
That's how humans respond when they're genuinely interested in what the person across from them is saying. They go, aha, oh, wow. Because you can, God.
We're part of the same community. We're both apes.
I love it.
This is my ape.
It's yours. Yours is so cool. I love the red heart sunglasses. I love the captain hat.
It reminded me of me a little bit because I wear striped shirts.
And I'm boring as
I've
fuck.
worn these heart sunglasses because my
And
daughters,
I'm not real.
Just as a joke, they have them, and as a joke, I put them on. So I've done this, and I love yacht rock and being breezy. So I'm like, yeah.
Wow.
That kind of, and I like the blue. Dude, look at us.
This is a segment, you guys. This is a segment on nighttime talk show television with two celebrities, two elitists, two people. They paid literally hundreds of thousands of dollars for this JPEG. Not even the print. Like they just got the JPEG for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the way this works is now that JPEG only has value. It only has the value that the artist sets, which means it has no value really unless they have a bunch of collectors and fans of this person's artwork. Now, obviously, this person does, otherwise they wouldn't be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. But Jimmy Fallon buying this now makes his worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, like way more because it's now tied to him in some way. So he's bumping up his own value just by showing this, and it's completely and utterly worthless. It is literally worthless. I mean, so is gold if you really break it down, but this has nothing. There's nothing here. There are generators for things like this. Like there are filters to make your monkey self or whatever out there. I'm sure of it. Yes, Craig from Break the Bell says it's like a coloring book. Yes, this is a coloring book where you just colored it something different. This is the exact same image, and because you called it an NFT, because you called this JPEG an NFT, it is now worth hundreds of thousands and thousands of dollars. That is elitism for you right there at its finest. And these are two of the least interesting people who are sharing their least interesting parts. And now the audience, if you couldn't tell, they were awkwardly sitting there not responding, just kind of like, oh, what are these rich old people talking about? Like, what even is this? And it's like, oh, look at our monkeys. And of course, when they show it, they have to applaud because the sign came on and flashed that they're supposed to.
That kind of, and I like the blue. Dude, look at us.
They look like they could be friends.
They're buddies.
That is a good monkey. That deserves some applause.
You have a new NFT. You have one being released soon.
This is bad.
We have it here. What can you tell us about this?
Well, it's an NFT series that I'm doing with Super Plastic and releasing on Origin Protocol. And then I made another piece by hand. It took me 6 months.
This is it.
And it's all a collage
This is
of
it.
all of my memories.
You know this is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars also, if not more than the freaking monkey. This is a GIF background for MySpace. Like, this isn't even new art. This is old as shit. And I'm sure she didn't put this together. She probably had nothing to do with this creation. But even if she did, any child on MySpace could have done this with a generator. And she's selling this for God only knows how much. But it's really fancy because you notice it opens with really glitchy animation.
Then I made another piece by
New
hand.
beginnings.
It took me 6 months, and it's all a collage of all of my memories.
And then, long story short, she gives Jimmy Fallon one. He pretends to be surprised, and then she gives everybody in the audience one of her NFTs. That's literally how valuable these things are. She just gives them away because who fucking cares? Who cares? Who cares about your NFT, Paris Hilton? But hey, grifter's gonna grift, hustler's gotta hustle, and props to the hustle. What do we got in the chats? David Fight says, that was such a delayed applause. Yes, it was such a forced applause. It was a delayed applause because they weren't sure what they were supposed to be doing until the light came on. TK says, what if it's the networks who have hijacked the system and are choosing officials? That might explain how Joe went from a lead role in Deliverance to the pedophile of the United States. I don't know. Justico Mitchell. I mean, if you're saying that you know the system doesn't work the way we think it does, then I defer to the name of this show. But Justico Mitchell says, "Made by hand, things don't mean anything anymore." Exactly, made by hand because he moved the mouse just right. Now that means it's unique probably, and there might only be one, but you can't really prove it because and I can screenshot. Hold on, let me go back to that. Let me commit theft here right quick. So we go back to this. Not that. Hold up. Go back to that. So we're here and going to screenshot it. Boom. Stole your art. I now own a copy of the NFTs that Paris Hilton and Jimmy Fallon own. I feel just as elitist now and just as cool. Now we're going to move on from that fun stuff. We're going to move on to, speaking of monkeys, this one's fun if you hadn't heard about it. There was a truck full of monkeys that apparently were being used for testing for COVID. It tipped over, and some lady just goes up to the truck, and she's like messing around with the monkeys. She doesn't get bit, but she gets hissed at. She steps in poop, and she contracts COVID-like symptoms shortly after, including pink eye, which I think is weird. Pink eye being okay. So in this article, it even says something. Okay, so here's the truck tipped over. I'm confused as to why there are no breathing places for monkeys. I don't know how monkeys are typically transported, but that seems pretty secure. It was carrying 100 monkeys. It also seems pretty small to be carrying 100 monkeys, but hey, what do I know? One of the escaped monkeys here, and Michelle Fallon. I am not meaning for these things to tie together so well, but monkeys and Fallon is nice. Speaking of monkeys, speaking of Fallon, speaking of stupid people, this Fallon went to pet a monkey, basically, because she thought they were cats. I don't know why she thought they were cats, or how that makes it better when they ran out of a truck, or how you think a monkey is a cat. But a lot about this feels really fishy, and a lot about it feels like the literal end of the world, the way Hollywood would write it. And since we know that they are currently writing it, who knows what will happen from this. But they have all since been accounted for. Now it has emerged a passerby who was at the scene is being treated for symptoms of an unknown illness. Michelle of nearby Danville was driving behind the truck when it crashed on the way to a research facility. She got out to help the driver with the smashed crates, initially believing they were transporting cats. When she put her hand on a cage, one of the 3 monkeys inside hissed at her, but she was not bitten or scratched. She said she also stepped in animal feces amid the chaos, blah, blah, blah. The next day, she developed COVID-like symptoms, including a cough and pink eye. But pink eye is not, to my knowledge, a symptom of COVID. So something feels strange here. They're just kind of throwing stuff out there, and yeah. She said on Facebook she was contacted by the CDC and is being monitored for symptoms of rabies and monkey herpes virus B. So that's next, I guess. The next wave is going to be monkey herpes virus B. Screw Omicron. None of us will be fearing Omicron once the monkey herpes virus B is spread around. But does this not feel like the opening to an apocalypse movie? If you're not in the System is Down forum, it's called the TSID Down. The TSID is Down forum on Facebook because they banned us a long time ago. But get in there and you can see, or follow me on Twitter and you'll see this. I posted this property that we're going to buy. We're not really going to, but I would love to. It's an old military nuclear silo, and we're just going to buy it, and we're going to we're going to have shows, and we're going to do podcasts. We're going to do live events, and we're going to have farms down there. We're going to have a pot farm and a food farm and stuff, and maybe a distillery. We're just going to live out the end of days there, like something from American Horror Story, which is what it looks like. If you want to go in on it with me, it's about $400,000, so pitch in. If you want to cover half, I'll dollar for dollar, I'll match that. I'll come up with a way to match that if somebody wants to pitch in $200,000, and we can go start a new utopia that we will call the metaverse down under the earth. But we got to talk about Biden, because Biden's been in the news, as Biden always is, as the president. He's never in the news for good reasons, though. Maybe it's because he's Biden, but I'm sure you heard about this one. This has been going around. This is when he called Peter Ducey a stupid son of a bitch. And there's more to this that I noticed nobody else is talking about, really, that I wanted to bring up. So this is the beginning of this clip, which is right at the end of this press conference or whatever. What he's talking about in the press conference, as you can see down here at the bottom, says President Biden speaks on lowering prices for American families. Keep that in mind. He's talking about interest rates right now.
Every one of you here on this council, I really mean it. You know, I think even when we decided to do this council, some of you all thought it was a good idea, but I'd be surprised.
I like that one. That's a good one.
I'd be surprised if some of you didn't go, whoa, I didn't realize how restrictive some of this was. But you're going to make a difference in ordinary people's lives.
Yeah.
Ordinary people's lives are going to make a difference. So anyway.
You know he doesn't have anything to say, or he doesn't know where he's supposed to go. Whenever he gets to that point where he's like, I'm going to say the exact same thing at least two, sometimes three times. I'm just going to flip the words around. I'm just going to say the exact same thing, but with the words flipped. I'm going to flip the words and say the exact same thing to make it feel like I'm saying more things than I'm actually saying, to feel dead air so it feels like more things are being said.
Brian, the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. We're going to give the press moment to exit and then
Mr. President, could you give us a brief update on your call with European leaders on what's happening in
Zoom
Ukraine
back
today?
in. Zoom.
The only reason I don't like doing this is you never report on why I've called a meeting.
Now, this is important because this meeting is about lowering prices for American families. He's pretending Ukraine doesn't necessarily have anything to do with lowering prices for American families, but he goes on to call Ducey a stupid son of a bitch for bringing up inflation, as though that has nothing to do with what we're supposed to be talking about. But so we're talking about inflation. He gets asked about Ukraine, and he says, hey, this is the problem with you guys. You don't ever stick to what we're supposed to talk about. He makes it a point. You guys need to be asking questions that are relevant to this current meeting. And then when somebody actually asks a question that has to do with the meeting itself, very obvious question, here's what happens.
And this is really important. I had a very, very, very good meeting, total unanimity with all the European leaders. We'll talk about it later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Will you send troops to Ukraine, sir?
Why are you sending 8,500 troops to Ukraine, possibly?
That's not it, but I find that guy to be funny. Just frantic. Why are you sending possibly? Not why are you possibly sending? He realized as he was getting to the end that he's like, oh, he might not be, so I got to make sure I say possibly. But if I was Biden, I wouldn't answer such a stupid question there either, but that's not the one we're talking about.
Thank you, guys. Will you take questions on inflation then?
Let's move. Thank you. Thank you
Do
all.
you think inflation is a political liability?
That's a great asset. More inflation. What a stupid son of a bitch.
Okay, so that's it. That's the thing that everybody's talking about. Very, very important thing that everybody's talking about. Calling Ducey a stupid son of a bitch. Everybody's calling it a hot mic, like he didn't know what was happening. I don't know if that's true. I think, personally, I feel like he knew what he was doing. He knew that he was on a hot mic, and he's just being a douchebag because he doesn't like Peter Ducey. I don't know Ducey, but I probably wouldn't like him either. That doesn't mean I like Biden. I like him less than most people. But there's a part of me that feels like he did it on purpose. He knew what he was doing, but he makes a joke like, "Oh yeah, inflation's a great asset," and you stupid son of a bitch. I feel like it's certainly not the first time he's done this, where he kind of just has an off the cuff jab at somebody like, "Look fat," or pony soldiers and stuff. Like, it happens quite often where he says something that's rude, and I feel like it's his way of trying to get the Trumpers. He thinks that's what's winning them over to Trump. So I feel like he knew, and he might regret it later, or I think he did come out and apologize or say something apologizing for it. Peter Ducey was just like, "I don't give a shit, whatever." But of course the media blew it up and made it into a huge thing. This is, as far as I'm concerned, less important than, why do you keep doing the wrong things? Less important than the fact that he won't answer the question itself, than acting like it has nothing to do with what we're here to discuss. Yes, DK, they confuse him. And no, he does not like questions. I don't know. I don't know why they keep pretending like he's going to answer questions at some point. It seems like every time he gives one of these press conferences, he gives like one answer to a question, and he's like, "That's all for today, folks. That's it." Shannon says, "Peter D isn't bad." I don't know. I'll take your word for it for now, but I don't know him, and I don't frankly care to. But we're going to move on to some more Joe Biden, because we've got a few this week in Joe Biden things that we're going to discuss. What is the next one? Here we've got Joe Biden pledges to nominate, the first black woman to Supreme Court. The really important things, Supreme Court Justice, whatever his name is retiring, and here's what Joe Biden had to say about who he would be replacing her with, or replacing him with, because that's his choice and all that.
While I've been studying candidates' backgrounds and writings, I've made no decision except one. The person I will nominate will be someone with extraordinary qualifications.
Oh, good. Somebody good at their job. That's a good point. I mean, obviously, that would be first and foremost. Make sure that they are good at their job.
Character.
Character's good. Character's good to have. I mean, it's obviously more important than any traits like your gender or your race or anything. You wouldn't choose somebody just based on their ethnicity or their gender. That would be crazy.
Experience and integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And that person will be the first black woman ever nominated to the United States Supreme Court. Justice Breyer has been everything his country could have asked of him. And when he appeared before the Judiciary Committee almost 3 decades ago.
Now, whatever. Y'all can play your game with pretending like he's doing this just because he cares about minority folks and all that, and you can call Ted Cruz a racist for saying that this is stupid, but you know deep down that this is stupid. If he said something like, it's going to be a black female, and we're deciding between, and that's because we have like 2 or 3 in mind that we're debating between, that would be fine. But to come out and say the only thing that matters is that they're good at their job and that they're a black female, it's really, if you feel, especially if you were a black person, if you feel like this isn't pandering, like this isn't just trying to gain votes and gain favor, then you're wrong. Now, Ted Cruz got a bunch of backlash, and there's a bunch of people coming out speaking against this because this is obviously stupid to say that you're going to choose a Supreme Court justice because of their skin color or gender is absolutely retarded. If he came out and said, like, let's pretend for a second that Donald Trump came out and said, "I'm going to appoint somebody, and they're going to be good at their job. The only things I'm concerned about is that they're good at their job and that they're a white dude." Right? How well will that go over? Or that they're good at their job and that they're a white woman. Trump did put up a white woman. But for some reason, this is different somehow. And that feels weird, doesn't it? That feels a little off deep down to say the only things I care about is that they're white and a woman, or white and a man, or something like that. Doesn't really work. But yeah, everybody's saying how stupid this is, and it is. Because this is taking, how thousands and thousands of people who would be qualified for the job and saying, you don't even get consideration because of your skin color, because of your race. It doesn't matter. Like your qualifications or how good you are at the job or anything like that. What matters is that you're a black Democratic female because that'll look good and it'll feel good. But remember, I don't know if you guys recall the last time Biden did this. It was like Vice President of the United States. And how's that been going so far? Does she seem like somebody who would be fit to take over if Joe Biden, who is definitely not fit to take over, croaks? You think? I don't know. But yeah, Ted Cruz is getting some backlash for his offensive tweets, or his offensive remarks. Ted Cruz says it's offensive and an insult that Biden pledged to nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court. And of course, that's the way they put it. It's offensive and an insult that he pledged to nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court. Yes, that is true, but that is a shady way of putting it. What he really has an issue with is him saying that the person that he, like, without giving a name, he just says, we're going to go out and find us a black woman that fits good enough for what we're looking for because, got to get that pander. But, yeah, Republican Senator Ted Cruz this comes from businessinsider.com, so you know it's legit. Republican Senator Ted Cruz on Sunday said President Joe Biden's promise to nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court is offensive. The fact that he is willing to make a promise at the outset that it must be a black woman, I got to say that's offensive, I got to say, that's offensive, Black women are what, 6% of the U.S. population. He said, okay, I can't read. I can do the voice, and I can read, but I can't read and do the voice. He's saying 94% of Americans, I don't give a damn about you. You are ineligible. The Texas Republican said on his podcast, Verdict with Ted Cruz. Did you know that Ted Cruz had a podcast? I sure didn't. And apparently Paris Hilton has a podcast. Apparently Tulsi Gabbard's starting a podcast. Why the hell not? Everybody should have a podcast. We don't even need social media anymore. If you want to find out what anybody knows or what they're thinking or whatever, just go listen to their podcast because everybody has one. He went... Excuse me, I'm getting over this Omicron. He went on to say it's actually an insult to black women if he came and said, I'm going to put the best jurist on the court, and he looked at a number of people and he ended up nominating a black woman. He could credibly say, okay, I'm nominating this person who's most qualified. He's not even pretending to say that. He's saying, if you're a white guy, tough luck. If you're a white woman, tough luck. You don't qualify. Yes, exactly. Yeah, this is discrimination. It's soft discrimination they act like it is the opposite. They act like it's inclusion, but it's inclusion for the sake of pandering, which is discrimination. Kind of like, teeny tiny little Peter Dinklage. He wants the joy of being in the spotlight, and he also doesn't want other people to have that joy. I'm not sure if this relates at all, actually. It doesn't matter. I need to refill my drink before I chug this too quickly. Speaking of Biden, speaking of things falling apart and crumbling before our eyes, Biden was going on a tour. He was going to go on a tour to Pittsburgh, and he was going to talk to Pittsburgh about their amazing infrastructure progress. And what happened? The infrastructure fell down. Well, he was on his way there, basically. Biden was going to go brag about how good their roads and bridges are, and a bridge collapses and a bunch of people were stranded, and there was a bus that was like this is another thing that's like movie quality. There was a bus stranded on this bridge that collapsed or was in the process of collapsing, and they made a human chain to get people out. There's some pictures here. Let's look at pictures. That'll be fun. There's the bridge. Pretty serious. I mean, thankfully it's not any higher than that, I suppose. I don't know how high is that? I think they said it was like 150-foot drop. So it's not nothing, but it's not like the Golden Gate Bridge or something like that. The White House claimed, okay, so let's go back up a bit. let's see, did we miss anything? 10 people, this comes from Breitbart.com, so you know it's legit. President Biden planned to be in Pittsburgh to tout the progress of infrastructure legislation on Friday, just as a Pittsburgh bridge collapsed before 7 o'clock the same morning. 10 people were injured and several taken to the hospital after a bridge collapsed in a neighborhood just east of downtown Pittsburgh, according to KDKA. The injuries were not life-threatening. Several cars were involved in the process. So there you can see the bridge. And let's see here. The White House claimed per Punchbowl News that Friday's visit to Pittsburgh was to champion Biden's massive infrastructure bill that was signed into law in March. The president will talk about how his bipartisan infrastructure law is already strengthening in our supply chains and critical infrastructure, our roads, bridges, ports, airports, and more, giving us an edge in producing more in America and exporting it to the world. This is what you can get, world. This is what you get from Biden's amazing infrastructure plan. After the collapsing of the bridge, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki tweeted the White House was aware of the bridge's collapse and noted they are communicating with local officials. Psaki told reporters on Thursday Biden would visit Pittsburgh to talk about, quote, continued infrastructure plans. Yeah, maybe we've got a little bit more to work on. I don't know. I don't know. Quote, while he's visiting Pittsburgh, he's going to talk about our continued plans to out-innovate, outbuild, and outcompete the world with the sort of competitiveness legislation that he has long championed. Yes, we are going to outcompete, outperform, and out-collapse the world with our collapsing infrastructure, economy, socio-economical status of everything, unity, everything collapsing around us. We got this, guys. We got this. Just give me one more year. Hang in there. Dangle in there, folks. I've got this. I've got it all right where I want it. What do we got? What do we got in here? David Fight says, you're not serious about politics till you have a podcast. That, that's not entirely not true, because everybody who has a podcast that talks about politics, they have this need and desire to learn more and dig into it more. So you're probably not as serious about politics as you would be if you had a podcast. I'm not encouraging you to go start a podcast. David Fight, don't start a podcast. Just kidding. Yeah, like me, I didn't dig into the news nearly as much until I started doing a podcast, and I'm like, this stuff is interesting. And then I dug more and dug more and dug more and stuff. Even Amash knows that now. Yes. TK says, these people are going to feel really stupid when they realize no one is paying for the circus anymore. Absolutely. La Sombra. The famous roads and bridges I am told about so many times by the loyal status. Yes. Yes. What will we do? How will we build the roads? How will we build the roads and bridges if not for government? Well, how's that working out for you so far? How is it working out for you? And I do have to refresh this one because it's Twitter, and Twitter always makes me refresh, so I'll refresh that now before I switch over like a responsible podcasting host. This is more Biden. This is from Luke Radowski. I don't even know what this is in reference to or what was going on here, but the tweet is just, holy cow, let the man retire already. And this should be a sign as to what we're dealing with here. If you're new to paying attention to politics, if you don't have your own podcast and you're not paying attention to politics, just know you probably voted for this guy.
But I might point out, when I went to Dearborn, driving that, was up there. I don't know, man. I think the press thought I was crazy. I enjoyed it so much going up and your new EV factory and that Hummer.
Oh, that is that's just fun to watch. I mean, it's sad and it's depressing, but hey, you kind of brought this on yourself, buddy.
But
let's watch it one more time.
I might point out, when I went to Dearborn, driving that, was up there. I don't know, man. I think the press thought I was crazy. I enjoyed it so much going up and
your Hummer,
your new EV factory. And
he's just mumbling. Like the people sitting there have got to be like, "What the hell is happening right now? Is he done? Like, is this just the powering down of Biden?" And we live in a time where we have a president of these United States who, at any point, everybody knows, at any point, he could die on a live stream. At any moment. He fell up the stairs, guys. He fell up them, like on day 2. He fell up them twice in one go. And now he's just back to mumbling incoherently and seemingly falling asleep in meetings that are being filmed. So that's fun. Yes. Oh, for fuck's sake. You are correct, TK. Oh, for fuck's sake. What else we got? Murder Beam says, but without roads, how else would we justify the existence of government? Exactly. Now we're gonna shift. We're gonna pivot. We're gonna transition into some Joe Rogan talk because Joe Rogan is in the news. Shocking, I know, right? Shocking that Joe Rogan is in the news again because Joe Rogan is in the news always these days, and the reason is, I think it's because CNN no longer has anybody to punch up at. Like they're dropping in the ratings and everything, so they don't have Donald Trump to punch, like to be angry at all the time. Like that's just gotten so exhausting. Their Trump arm is getting weak, and so they're like, "Hey, who's bigger than us now? Who's bigger in the ratings?" It's Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is bigger than CNN in the ratings, and he has more influence and more impact on this culture than CNN even does. So that's why we're all mad. That's why we're mad, right? And that's why we're sharing such brilliant... You know that the culture is doing great. You know, actually, this to me is kind of a white pill. When we get to the point that such trending hashtags as hashtag Joe Rogan, when that's the trend, you know that the flailing is coming to a close. Like, this is the jumping of the shark. I said this on Twitter the other day. Joe Rogan will be, like, you don't even have to be a fan of Joe Rogan to see that he will be the jumping of the shark for the mainstream news, the dinosaur media. He is going to be their downfall because they're going to flail so hard. They spent all this time attacking him, and now we're to the point where Joe Rogan, like, making fun of somebody's name and how to pronounce somebody's name, and he doesn't have hair. Like Joe Rogan gives a shit about whether or not he has hair. We're going with Joe Rogan. That is junior high level trends that are going around right now, trying to stop this evil heretic named Joe Rogan. But there's some stuff. There's a couple things actually that have been going around about Joe Rogan. The first one that we're going to talk about is Jordan Peterson was on recently. Everybody's famously hated bigot or something. I don't know. Just an old professor guy who doesn't like the things that you like, I suppose. That's enough to call him the Red Skull from Captain America. But he was on Joe Rogan, and here's Trevor Noah's breakdown of it. So yes, I'm doing commentary on commentary of commentary. But it's before I play this, I would like to point out that Joe Rogan talked to Jordan Peterson for like 4 hours. Joe Rogan is supposed to be this evil guy who said all these evil things that require him to be pulled off of Spotify. Jordan Peterson is supposed to be this evil guy who said all these evil things. He's the Red Skull from Captain America. So two evil guys, and this is what came out of it. This, out of 4 hours of these two evil men talking, this is the best they could do to make their smear campaign. This is what they came up with. Here's Trevor Noah.
Let's talk about Joe Rogan, the king of podcasts, and Aaron Rodgers' personal physician. Whatever you think about him, Rogan is one of the most influential voices in America right now because 11 million people listen to his show. 11 million people. Yeah.
That's like 11 million more than Trevor Noah gets.
Some of what they hear is a little suspect, right? You know, whether it's misinformation about COVID or whatever was happening here.
What did Michael Eric Dyson call you? A mean, angry white man?
Mean, yeah, and a mean, angry white man, yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
You're not mean at all.
Yeah. I am white. Actually, that's a lie, too. I'm kind of tan, and he was actually not black.
If you're tan,
he was
what
sort
the
of
am I? Black and white thing is so strange because
like
the shades are so...
tan and brown.
There's such a spectrum of shades of people. Unless you're talking to someone who is like 100% African from the darkest place where they're not wearing any clothes all day and they've developed all that melanin to protect themselves from the sun. even the term black is weird.
All right, now before we listen and comment on this schmuck's commentary, let's give our own. So clearly, the evilest thing that they came up with to pull out of this 4-hour conversation is Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson just off the cuff, just randomly happened to come up in conversation talking about skin color, and somebody called him an evil, angry white man, and he's like, "Well, I'm actually not really white," and because no, he's not really white. He's not the same color as a piece of paper. He's tan compared to a piece of paper. That is the color white. That's how colors work. And the conversation that they were having is people like Trevor Noah. That's not the color black, right? Like we call anybody with any bit of African heritage, we call them black. That's become a norm in our society, and we call everybody from European heritage white. And the only point they're making is it's kind of strange that we have this dichotomy of just black and white and nothing, like there's not really much labeling in between. And it's kind of weird. Like we should be more, I took it as we should be more, it's not even really a statement other than, isn't it weird that our society talks this way and has these boxes that are black and white when none of us are either for the most part? And Joe Rogan's just saying, you're not really black unless you're literally black. Like, unless you're literally the color black is all he was saying. But of course they take it and spin it into, he's saying that people can't be black if they're not fitting Joe Rogan's label or something. I won't put words in their mouth. Let's get it from the horse himself.
Oh my God. I'm not black. I'm not black. Joe Rogan's right. I'm like a caramel mocha frappuccino. This changes everything. This changes everything. The police said I'm black. But yeah.
Okay. Now, I chuckle because that is that's a funny joke, and it could be done well. I mean, it is awkward. Why does Trevor Noah still not have a live studio audience? Is he still blaming COVID, or is it because he can't get people into his show? At this point, like everybody else has live studio audiences. Jimmy Fallon had one with Paris Hilton. Why doesn't Trevor Noah, like you can hear one person chuckling in the back? He has the equivalent setup and show of this. Like, his is obviously better. He has better camera, better lighting. He has a crew. He doesn't have to figure all this stuff out for himself. He just sits there and makes bad jokes that other people probably wrote for him. But that's the level of quality that Trevor Noah is working with. It's pretty much this, minus the raw talent and charisma of myself. Now, that joke I thought was chuckle-worthy, but it's so damn awkward.
Apparently, Joe Rogan really wants to know why they say black people if they're not the color of a Sharpie. And this actually is a common question.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. In fact, when my brother was 5 years old, he asked me the exact same thing. And I know a lot of people are upset about this, but look at the upside. At least Joe Rogan wasn't talking about vaccines, so that is a step in the right direction.
Hold up.
Brother was...
Did you see what just happened there? He's like, now that is a common question that people ask. My little brother even asked me once, and then he just moves on. He's like, oh, that's a stupid question to ask, but I understand why people ask it, and also I'm not going to answer it. He just acts like it's outlandish for Joe Rogan to say such a thing, but at least we're not talking about vaccines. Like, he doesn't even have a response. He doesn't even have an explanation to what Joe Rogan says. I think he goes on to say something about history, and we'll get to that, but I do think it's interesting that he brings up his brother, and he's like, well, my little brother asked, did you have an answer for your little brother, or did you just, like, call him a racist and go on with your day?
5 years old, he asked me the exact same thing. And I know a lot of people are upset about this, but look at the upside. At least Joe Rogan wasn't talking about vaccines, so that is a step in the right direction, right? Let's acknowledge that. You know? What was weird about this whole thing was Rogan's guest, or Jordan Peterson, saying that his skin is actually tan. My man, you're not tan.
Now, if you look at this picture, I mean, yeah, by societal standards, Jordan Peterson is not tan, but also by societal standards, like, Trevor Noah's considered black, right? And he's not that far. They're not that far off. Like, side by side here, they're similar colors. He's like a shade and a half darker. Trevor Noah is. Like, Jordan Peterson goes to the beach for a day, and he would come out about as dark as Trevor Noah, I would imagine. But no, by societal standards, Jordan Peterson is not tan. But by like the literal terms that they're using here, no, Trevor Noah is not literally black.
Like, that's white. If anyone buys skin tanner and they end up looking like Jordan Peterson, they should sue the company. Have you seen his skin color? Like, he could be Snow White. The thing that these guys seem to be ignoring is that black people didn't call themselves black. You understand that, right? Not like black people were like, we're black. No, in Africa, we have tribes. We have cultures. Zulu, Xhosa, Waganda, Igbo, Wakandans. But then white people got there, and they're like, wow, there's a lot of black people here. A lot of black people. Yeah, then in America, they invented a rule that if you had 1 drop of black blood in you, that makes you black, which defined how you were treated by the government.
Is he
and by society.
for what Joe Rogan's saying, or
vampires
is he
wouldn't bite
against
you.
it?
Like, I thirst for that blood, but I'm applying for a mortgage. I can't risk it.
Wow, that was bad. So I played the whole thing because it gets even more confusing, because he's like, we didn't call ourselves black. We came here, and then you guys called us black or whatever. And what's strange about that is he's saying the exact same argument that Joe Rogan was making. He's like, no, we're not all black. We don't call each other black. You guys just did that. But also, don't pretend like I'm not black because I'm black. Like, this argument he's arguing both sides of this. And David, I don't know who is upset about this. Apparently Trevor Noah is, and a bunch of people on Twitter, and that's about it. Joe Rogan is saying that black people aren't always the color directly black, and white people aren't always usually the color directly white. There might be some creepy albinos, like Travis is pretty close, but that's about it. I can make fun of him because he's never coming back, apparently. Anyway, we're gonna move on from that. It did remind me of no, we're not gonna move on from that. We're gonna talk about some more of that, because I was looking up some of this stuff to see who was sharing like things like Joe Rogan and canceling Joe Rogan for this type of thing and whatnot. And why does this keep switching back to the wrong tab when I press that button? Okay, let's do this. And I just ran across this one, and this is another funny one. It's amazingly even worse than Trevor Noah's take, but
black and white thing is so strange because the shades are so
tan and brown.
There's such a spectrum of shades of people. Unless you're talking to someone who is like 100% African from the darkest place where they're not wearing any clothes all day, and they've developed all that melanin to protect themselves from the sun. You know, even the term black is weird. It's a
Oh, Joe, you didn't get the memo, huh? So this PSA goes out to Joe Rogan or anybody watching who thinks they can minimalize and define who me and my people are. We aren't our ancestors. You do not get to tell us who we are anymore. And we're not going to hold back to make you feel comfortable.
To answer your question, David Feit, this lady is upset about this, apparently. She thinks that Joe Rogan is defining what she can and can't call herself or something like that. Like, it matters. He's saying literally, if you take a picture of yourself and drag it into Photoshop and then color select and then look at what the color is, it's not black. You can call yourself black. Yes, the society calls you that. And Trevor Noah may or may not be upset about it. I'm really not sure. This lady is clearly upset because she doesn't understand what Joe was saying, clearly.
Words. Fuck off. Oh, say it now.
She got him. She's black and proud. Okay. That's... Good Lord. Good Lord. Society. Chill. Chill the fuck out. Now, this did, of course, remind me of something that I thought was a little bit interesting. This going around of Joe Rogan apparently telling people who is and who isn't black, which is clearly not the case. But can you guess what it reminded me of? Any guesses? Huh? No? How about this?
Come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
So there's that. I wonder if this lady is just as angry about Joe Biden saying that if she doesn't vote for him, she isn't black. Like, Joe Rogan is saying, if you're not literally black, then you're not literally black. That's the extent of his statement. Joe Biden is saying, if you don't vote for me, then you're not black, because the Democrats apparently own black people. That, I guess that's what they're going for, or the messaging that they try to do. But why is everybody smearing Joe Rogan? Again, this is the best that they could come up with for Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson. And also there's the ivermectin thing, and there's the COVID stuff he's had on the doctors that are dangerous and things like that. But what's funny is, they're smearing Joe Rogan for a lot of misinformation about things like ivermectin, while, according to usnews.com, so it's legit, ivermectin shows antiviral effect against COVID, Japanese company says. And there are, I think it's in, where was it? Another country. Was it China? Somebody was selling, I saw an image of them selling ivermectin in the little vending machines at the airports. Why are we so scared of such a thing? It's coming out, as you know, it's coming out, and we've been saying it the whole time, that this stuff is, yeah. Oh, Shannon, it is Black History Month. Hooray, this seems like a fun way to celebrate. But continuing on with Joe Rogan, you heard about the Neil Young thing, I'm sure. Neil Young tells, no, why does it keep going to the wrong tab? Oh, Neil Young tells Spotify to remove music over Joe Rogan vaccine misinformation. They can have Rogan or Young, not both, the Canadian-American singer 76 said in an open letter that was later removed from his website. Why did he remove it? I bet he removed it because he was having second thoughts when he realized that nobody gave a shit. Like, who? Okay. So CNN is mad at Joe Rogan, and it's because they get worse ratings than Joe Rogan. Who do you think gets more views or listens or whatever between Neil Young and CNN? It's probably CNN. I mean, it's 2020. Who's listening to old Canadian protest songs in 2020 from 76? Or no, his age is 76. Yes, the world gave a resounding who gives a shit to Neil Young, which I thought was a beautiful thing. Sure, there are people who are still angry at Joe Rogan and all that, and who are going along with Neil Young, and we'll talk about them. But most people, including Spotify, which is really all that matters, don't give a flying fuck about Neil Young or his opinions. I'm kidding, they do, because they're corporate, and they're flaky too. They just know that Rogan's bringing in all the money. Neil Young has reportedly demanded, this comes from NBCnews.com, so it's legit. Neil Young has reportedly demanded that his music be removed from Spotify over vaccine misinformation shared on Joe Rogan's popular podcast through the streaming service. Quote, they can have Rogan or Young, not both. Young, 76, that's not Young. The old 76 said in an open letter to his manager and record label that was posted to his Neil Young Archives website on Monday, according to Rolling Stone magazine. Rogan, known for his contrarian and often baseless views on medicine, has faced widespread backlash for questioning vaccine safety during this pandemic. This is exhausting. Everybody says the same lies together. That's how you know. That's how you know. It's not that they're lying, it's that they're all lying in unison. NBC News has not seen the original post, and it is unclear why it was removed from Young's website. A link to the original post labeled "A Message to Spotify" currently leads to a blank page. A representative for Young did not immediately respond to an overnight question or request for comment. Who cares? That happened. Neil Young came out and made that very bold statement, and then Spotify gave a resounding fuck you. Spotify says it will remove Neil Young's music, according to reports. So this wonderful, beautiful human who is trying to censor free speech did not get his wish, and good on him. Like, good on him for sticking to his guns and removing his music that nobody was listening to anyway on Spotify. But like Trevor Noah said, Joe Rogan gets 11 million downloads per episode or something crazy like that. How many downloads a day do you think Neil Young's music gets? More than me, more than David Feit. Sorry, David. More than most like podcasters. Yes, he's a big name. He's got a little bit of clout from history, but going up against the beast there, bud. And Joni Mitchell, followed suit, removing her music from Spotify. I stand with Neil Young. So good for these people to stand up for their principles and shoot themselves in the foot. Let's allow them to please continue doing so. I won't chastise you too much, because if you are a loser who has bad opinions and wants to censor free speech and you want to be on less platforms, then by all means, please go ahead and censor yourself. Do the thing to yourself that you are asking Spotify to do to others, and I will not shed a fucking tear. This comes from New York Post, nypost.com, Steel Sajit, legendary singer and songwriter, Joni Mitchell, who both of these people, I'm familiar with the names, but if you held a gun to my head and said, name for me one Joni Mitchell song, I would not be able to. Probably not a Neil Young song either. I would know them if I heard them, but I would imagine most people around my age probably have no idea really who these people are or what their body of work is. And they're just like, well, I like Joe Rogan, so you're going to have to go, bud. You're the one making the claims here. You're the one doing the dirty work. So, stick to your guns, and there's the door. Legendary singer and songwriter Joni Mitchell announced she will follow Neil Young's lead and pull her music from Spotify over COVID misinformation concerns. The two music giants decided to abandon the streaming service in protest of its prized podcaster, Joe Rogan, who they've accused of spreading fake information about COVID vaccines. Quote, I've decided to remove all my music from Spotify, Mitchell, 78, said in a statement posted on her website. Irresponsible people are spreading lies that are costing people their lives. Sure, Joni. Are you removing your stuff from all the platforms? Because you know that there are dangerous people on all the platforms. I did think it was funny. I don't have it pulled up, but Apple came out and made a statement like, "Oh, we stand with Neil Young." It's like, oh, shocking! You stand with the one guy So there's a dispute between two guys, Joe Rogan, who does not give a shit about any of this. He's just not even probably paying attention to it, and Neil Young, who's flailing has been. Apple has Neil Young's music on their platform, and Joe Rogan is sold exclusively to Spotify. So his music or his podcast isn't even on Apple. And Apple came out and made the brave statement, we support the one guy that's not on our platform. Yay, that's great. You guys are doing the Lord's work, Apple. Her Canadian compatriot Young earlier this week gave Spotify an ultimatum in a since-deleted letter on his website that read, they can have Neil Young or Rogan, not both. I want you to let Spotify know immediately today that I want all my music off their platform, fumed the 76-year-old Grammy. Let's just say 76-year-old Grammy in the note. Grams versus Joe Rogan. At least, they've got a little bit more clout than Ethan Klein. It was even sadder when we're talking about Ethan Klein going up against Joe Rogan, trying to gain a little bit of attention. But now Neil Young is, I have more respect for Neil Young, at least, than I do for Ethan Klein. Joni Mitchell, couldn't even name a single song of hers or Neil Young's, I suppose. All right, what's in the chats? What do we got? Give me something good. David Fight says, I just got flagged on Twitter as misinfo for saying that certain thing works. Are you trying to get me flagged on here, sir? Ivermectin definitely does not. How do I do this? Ivermectin does not work. I'm trying to think of a way to do it in code, but I'm failing. La Sombra says, the irony of a man that wrote rocking in the free world, yet pro-censorship and bootlicking. Then again, he sold part of his catalog to BlackRock owners. Yes, exactly. TK says, when are we going to find out where, why, who, and with what money the virus was made? Yeah, probably any day now. Probably any day. As soon as, maybe sometime after we find out in 70 years what is in the vaccine, or when we find out in another 50 years who killed JFK. And yes, David Fight, that you are absolutely correct in that question. Who the fuck is Ethan Klein? All right, so more on this story. Who the fuck is Sebastian Bach? I don't know. I've heard the name. I know that the composer, obviously this is not the composer. He's a metal artist or something. Sebastian, this comes from metalinjection.net, so you know it's legit. Sebastian Bach calls out David Draymond for taking Spotify's side on Joe Rogan podcast situation. So, Disturbed guy, who I like some of their music. I'm not like a big butt rock type of fan or anything, but I like a little grunginess, some Disturbed every now and then. It gets a little old. You can only say wah so many times in your songs and have them sound like different songs. But, The Sound of Silence and The Sickness and all the classics and 10,000 Fists in the Air is a good album. Canadian-American songwriter Neil Young was removed. We know this. Okay, Spotify, blah, blah, blah. Then Disturbed vocalist David Draymond, I think that's how you pronounce that, weighed in on the issue via Twitter, praising Spotify and saying, let me blow this up a bit. It's small. And saying that the right to free speech must be preserved. Draymond said, I applaud you and Spotify for making the right call. I applaud you. Yeah, I applaud you and Spotify. Who's he talking to? Whatever. Preserving free speech and not capitulating to the mob. I may not agree with everything Joe Rogan or his guests say, but they're entitled to have the forum to say it. Draymond would later clarify his statement, like a bitch, adding, let me be clear. Let me be clear. Oh, wow. I do not support any artist blackmailing any entity to follow an agenda they believe in, whether it's Neil Young on one side of the spectrum or Eric Clapton on the other. Music shouldn't be used to sow division. It should be used to bring people together, in my honest opinion. In my honest opinion, you wrote Down with the Sickness. That's about beating the shit out of your abusive mother. I know it's not really equivalent, but I think you can make music about whatever the hell you want. And Neil Young made music that was, Okay, so let me read this again. Let me be clear. I do not support any artist blackmailing any entity to follow an agenda. So he's still siding with Rogan there. They believe an agenda they believe in, whether it's Neil Young on one side or Eric Clapton on the other. Okay, I understand. Sorry. So he's not saying don't make music that is divisive. He's saying don't blackmail people. Don't blackmail Spotify. Don't be a bitch like Neil Young. And if Eric Clapton did it, he would be pissed off at him too. So, kudos on him for that. And there's nothing wrong with explaining yourself as long as you stick to your guns, in my opinion. I think he did pretty well. Now solo artist and ex-Skid Row vocalist Sebastian Bach has taken to Twitter. I don't know anything about Skid Row. How old are they? Because this dude looks like he's drinking the adrenochrome. Let's be honest. I don't know what he is. Or she, I don't know. Now solo artist, ex-Skid Row vocalist Sebastian Bach has taken to Twitter to call Draymond out. Bach tagged Draymond saying, imagine calling yourself a rocker yet siding with some dude who has a podcast over Neil Young. You can stick to listening to your podcast, and I will stick to listening to Neil Young. Dude, the debate isn't over music versus podcast, you fucking idiot. The debate is over censorship versus not censorship. And imagine being a rocker and being that stupid. Imagine being in Skid Row and being in favor of... this is just I think this is... Okay, so there's more here. Before I spout out. Misinfo about the vaccines is everybody's problem. This is from Sebastian Bach's Twitter. Neil Young is doing this because he wants rock and roll to exist and his fans to live. The other guy is a complete jackass who doesn't give a shit about anybody or anything except himself. Give me a fucking break, dude. Give me a fucking break. So this is, he's... This guy's a hack. Imagine siding with a podcaster who's for free speech or siding with Neil Young who's against free speech. As a rocker, you're not much of a rocker, bro. This is such childish bullshit, saying that he's not a rocker if he sides with free speech. Fuck you. So just so you know who's good and who's not good on this shit. Speaking of good on this shit, we've got Evangeline Lilly also came out. She was at the event, this, whatever it was called, the Freedom Rally thing, anti-mandate event that was going on. She came out with a bold statement, which I think is pretty freaking awesome. She said, this is still on her Instagram, which I'm kind of surprised about. She was there. She says, I was in D.C. this weekend to support bodily sovereignty while Canadian truckers were rallying for the cross-country peaceful convoy in support of the same thing. I believe nobody should ever be forced to inject their body with anything against their will, under threat of violent attack, arrest or detention without trial, loss of employment, homelessness, starvation, loss of education, alienation from loved ones, excommunication from society, under any threat whatsoever. This is not the way. This is not safe. This is not healthy. This is not love. I understand the world is in fear, but I don't believe that answering fear with force will fix problems. I was pro-choice before COVID, and I am still pro-choice today. So she's like pro-choice Democrat. She's holding the sign that says "Vax Democrat for Medical Freedom." I assume that's her. But if you don't know, she's the WASP, and she was on Lost, wasn't she? I'm pretty sure. She's been on some things. But yeah, her level of respect for me just went up quite a lot, because this is basically career suicide these days for somebody in Hollywood, somebody working with Marvel. I am wondering if there will be backlash for this, because she's so beloved. I wonder if she'll get the same Gina Carano treatment from Disney, or if she'll hang in there. What do you think? Let me know in the chats while I take a drink. But good on her. We need more people like this to say this isn't like a left versus right thing. She's saying, I'm a Democrat, and I went to this because I see the tyranny, and I think it's bullshit. Like, that's what we need. So, good for her. La Sombra says, truck yeah, brother. Truck yeah. Truck on. All right, moving on to, what do we have here? We've got this Wisconsin judge. Wisconsin judge amazingly rules 7 healthcare workers cannot switch jobs. Cannot switch jobs. That means they can't leave the job that they're at currently. That means they're being forced to stay at a job. That means they're being forced to do work, to do manual labor. Forced. You can't leave, can't quit. Now, this is from a bit ago from last week, and it's already been overruled. So spoiler alert, it doesn't get too terribly crazy, but this is what's going down. This is what businesses are trying to do. This Wisconsin medical facility had 7 workers who were on this program. They're not officially hired. They are on, what's it called? I don't remember what it's called. Something where they're not like officially employees. It's like an agreement where they are going to work there. They're basically like contractors. They're there and they can leave whenever they want, unless they try to leave at the wrong time. And then the business, which is called ThedaCare, then the business might take them to court to try and sue them to keep them employed there. That's what we're dealing with. So, the Appleton, Wisconsin Post Crescent reports Fox Valley healthcare workers now playing out in court. The 7 workers quit ThedaCare, applied for positions at Ascension, and received job offers. The 7 did not have contracts or obligations at ThedaCare, nor did Ascension recruit these workers. Nonetheless, ThedaCare filed a lawsuit seeking to block the move. We're gonna breeze through this one because we need to move on to the more important things that are other people that are, dealing with the jobs. But this says the irony is this ridiculous ruling by Judge McGinnis, or the irony in this ridiculous ruling by Judge McGinnis is that the 7 workers will not be at work for either ThedaCare or Ascension next week unless the workers ignore the restraining order. So. They tried to leave their business. Their ThedaCare tried to get them to stay. Motherfucker, why is that not working? Yeah, their owners, I guess, tried getting them to stay, and they had because of the pandemic and all that, because of healthcare, because this is all about your health and your wellness. And they don't really say why these people were trying to leave. They say because of the business conditions and the pay. It sounds like, if you dig into it more, it sounds like maybe some of the mandates played into it and they just don't want to bring that up too loudly. But these people are leaving their job at ThedaCare and going to a competitor that I assume is relatively close to ThedaCare. And they're all going at once. And of course, ThedaCare is angry, and they're like, "Oh, we have these patients that need 24-hour round-the-clock care, and you're gonna let them die, and blah blah blah." Now, if we're gonna pretend like this is all 100% just about keeping these people alive, what is stopping them from them saying, "Let's take these patients, send them with you to the better place"? Like, it's better for the employees. It's probably better for the patients too. If this is about the patients and not about your paycheck, then let's let's just send the patients right along to the competition as well, because clearly the competition is doing better. Clearly the free market is providing to some small, tiny degree, and but can't have that because that would be dangerous. So the judge said you're not allowed to go there until we get this all squared away. So it sounds like he wasn't forcing them to continue working at Thedicare, but he wasn't letting them get on with Ascension or whatever their name was. Sorry, I'm trying to get my drink and fumbling around here. And like the article said, the beautiful irony is that because of this, they weren't working at either one. So the patients could have been moved. The patients could have left probably and gone to this other facility, but they wouldn't have mattered because these people weren't allowed to start their jobs and take care of people. This has nothing to do with your health. This has everything to do with bottom dollars. Now, oh shit, what is this? Oh, I left my Twitter on the wrong page. No. Okay, so that is nothing. We're going to close that. Whatever. This brings us to the headline of the day, and I'm sorry for bearing the lead this far. I didn't plan on going this long because I never do, and I never will, and always will do so. But the truckers are fascists, as you guys know. The truckers up, good old Canucky Canada truckers, according to the Washington Post, they're sharing this cartoon. Fascism. If you haven't heard, there's a bunch of truckers doing a big convoy, big protest. They're driving across the country. They're driving to Ottawa, and they're going to protest these vaccine mandates because they have this coming down the line for them, and they don't want any part of it. So they're like, no, we're not doing that. We're gonna protest. Maybe you're familiar with protests. We saw several of them last year, but this one seems to be mostly peaceful. But the media is not having it, of course. They are not going to allow peaceful protesting because it is attacking the king, and because it's attacking the king, they are fascists. That is the only reason this picture exists. It has nothing to do with people not getting their food or roads being blocked and people being sad. It has to do with the king not getting his way. So we're getting stuff like this from TruckNuts.com, so you know it's legit. It's time for truckers protesting in Ottawa to leave. Okay, Mike Million. I'm sure that's a face you can trust from TruckerNews.com. TruckNews.com. Truckers out there, how do you feel? How do you feel about TruckNews.com putting out stuff like this? The Private Motor Truck Council of Canada was very disturbed with some of the images we saw and reports we heard out of Ottawa, blah, blah, blah. So they're trying to say, where is it? They're trying to say that people are flying Nazi flags and Confederate flags and stealing from the homeless. Even Trudeau came out and said that they're stealing from the homeless, which makes absolutely no sense. They do say that a lot of these truckers were helping the locals and stuff like that, but then they're like, yeah, but you're mostly bad, and mostly these people are hurting people. They keep throwing out the racist flags, which makes absolutely no sense. That America's the people north of the north part of our country. So generally it's considered south part of the United States waves the Confederate flag, and the north calls them all racists for things. And right above that north, apparently it gets really racist again. I don't know, but all these truckers are being called Nazis and racists and Confederates and blah blah blah. The majority of the trucking industry and the vast majority of drivers were not involved in this convoy in any way and continued to work to ensure our essential supplies were delivered. For those drivers who were at the protest and respectful, we thank you for protesting politely. We have even heard stories about a group of drivers who went to No Frills and purchased a bunch of food and donated it to Shepherds of Good Hope. They also placed flowers at the War Memorial after the actions mentioned above. Actions like these are what represent the vast majority of our industry and Canadians. Let me see. They said the desecration of the national monument of our fallen heroes, such as the tomb of the unknown soldier and the statue of Terry Fox, were disgraced in disrespectful acts. I mean, look into the validity. I'm sure there's more to that story. I'm sure I'm sure there were some Ray Epps around. I'm sure there were some feds around involved in this. I'm not saying it's all that. There might be some stupid guy who's waving a Nazi flag, and he's stupid, okay? That has nothing to do with this, the way they're trying to smear it, of course. The images we saw of people carrying the rebel flag, swastika, wearing the yellow Star of David, engaging in disrespectful behaviors, and refusing to wear masks, and follow public health guidelines while in public places. Oh, God. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this bullshit. It's like, can you not see right through this shit? You're attacking the king. You're coming at the king, and that's when they start to get mad about it. That's when they start to write things like, Ottawa police. This is from IsraelNationalNews.com. You know it's legit. Ottawa police open hate crime hotline despite zero violence at truckers' protest. I guess that's a good thing. Thank you. Israel Nation News. I don't know who this is, but I'm sure it's legit. Police chief calls protests, quote, dangerous in every aspect, but can only point to massive traffic chaos and gridlock as damages caused. So, yeah, people are saying some things. People are scared of these evil insurrectionists. They're the latest boogeyman that we must fear, and despite all the fear and bullshit, the only thing that they can point to, dangerous in every aspect, but the only aspects we can point to, apparently the only aspects involved are traffic chaos and gridlock. If it's dangerous in every aspect, and these are the only two aspects that you can point to, then I guess those are the only two aspects involved in this entire thing, which I feel like you might miss the point. Now, you've probably heard that Justin Trudeau said that we will not be scared off or something like that. We'll get to that later. But first, before we talk about how Trudeau came out saying that we will not be deterred or we will not be swayed or we're not scared or something to that effect, he fucking fled. He got the fuck out of there. Trudeau flees from convoy of truckers, moved to secret location with his family. Some people are saying that it was in America, even that he fled the country, which is kind of funny. It's kind of funny. Castro's fleeing Canada to come on down here where it's nice and safe from his evil truckers. He fled. He was all scaredsies of people driving who disagree with him. That's what we're up against, guys. That's what we're up against here. It's Joe Biden mumbling himself to sleep and Justin Trudeau not being able to handle truckers driving who disagree with his politics. Tough shit. You can't mandate. You can't take everyone to court and insist that they do their job the way you want them to. It's gonna fall apart eventually. God bless these truckers, man. I don't know what's gonna come of this. I don't know if this is gonna be successful. I mean, it was successful in getting Trudeau to bail. And pretend like he was a big badass, but this is sending a really strong message. I think it's very important. I don't know how much impact it will have directly on the mandates themselves. I don't really know how things work in Canada. It seems to be a little bit worse than here as far as those things go, but yes, hopefully we can follow suit to some degree. Hopefully some of our truckers start something similar. I've seen some groups. I'm sure they'll be banned from Facebook any day now, but I've seen some groups. People talking about doing convoys like this to D.C., and I think it's great. Keep it peaceful, obviously, but send a message. You're not going to get your shit if you force us to take these fucking vaccines. Send the message. I know that's easy for me to say. I'm not a truck. I do have my Class A CDL, which should show you. Like, for people who are like, well, you should have to have, a government-sponsored license in order to drive a car. Otherwise, just anybody could hop in. Some kid could hop in and do whatever. Okay, I got my Class A CDL. It's still active, I'm pretty sure. I got it. I used it. Like, I passed the test. And I used it for, 3 months under somebody's supervision. Like, I was never, going over the road by myself or anything like that. Still, I would say that I if I wanted to drive a truck today, I wouldn't trust me, but apparently the government would. So, I don't know. It sounds like I'm saying we should be stricter on that, but whatever. All this to say, I'm not going to be joining the convoy in that way. Otherwise, there will be some Waukesha-type incidents. The parade will get dark very quickly. But we do need more people like these filthy Canucks who are out here. You can keep the flags. You can keep those flags. Don't bring those along. All you feds that are coming out with your Nazi flags, you can stay home. That's fine. But, yeah, this is great. This is good. Canada from RT.com, so you know it's legit. Canada's Trudeau contracts COVID. So, all of this is very strangely coincidental. It's kind of funny right off the bat to think, these truckers come out and they're protesting, and Trudeau says nothing, and he's like, "We're not scared," and then he leaves, and then he gets COVID. Now it seems like they're kind of trying to spin it as, oh, he wasn't running away; he was just running to quarantine quickly. But this, again, from RT.com, it's legit. The positive COVID test comes after Prime Minister's family were removed to an undisclosed location amid protests against pandemic measures. Yeah. Mostly, who cares? This morning I tested positive for COVID-19. I'm feeling fine, and I'll continue to work remotely this week while following public health guidelines. Everyone, please get vaccinated and get boosted. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it beautiful to see a man who is completely vaccinated and boosted and forcing it on others get COVID and still say you should get vaccinated and boosted? Get it, because it works so well that you too can avoid facing people who disagree with your politics. You can avoid it by getting COVID after you get vaccinated and boosted. That'll work out just fine and dandy. So more. There's more. We're getting there. We've only got a few more tabs here, fellas, and then we'll jump over into the after party, which you're probably already tired of this by now. But if you're not tired of it, get in the Downers Club now. If you want to get the after party, we're talking about much spicier things over there. Some things. I don't even want to say what they are because it'll give people the wrong impression. But some things. There's some stuff about trans folks in the news. There's some stuff about the Holocaust in the news. We're just going to go talk about all of it over there in the bonus. So if you want to get the spicy bonus sausage over there, feel free to go join the Downers Club at patreon.com so it's legit. / the system is down. Okay, so this is from Dennis who cares? Dennis Michael Lynch, I think. .com it's legit. Watch. Trudeau breaks his silence on trucker convoy, slams protesters in scorching tirade. So he emerges. He was pretty quiet for a while, but here's this. I think there's video for this, actually. Let's see what we've got.
I have attended protests and rallies in the past when I
Hopefully you can
agreed
hear
with
that.
the goals, when I supported the people expressing their concerns and their issues. Black Lives Matter is an excellent example of that. But I have also...
So he's saying there, I supported Black Lives Matter. Like, I'm not reaching out to these protesters. I'm not going to talk to them because I disagree with their message. I did support people like Black Lives Matter, where they were burning down each other's shops and each other's stores. You see the connection here? You see the similarities between this incident and the January 6th Nothing Burger? I'm just going to say it. Like, not a whole lot happened. It caused a little disruption, a little chaos, but not a whole lot happened there. When you come at the king, that's when the king starts to care. When the plebs are fighting amongst each other, and I'm not even like making definitive statements here about like BLM or anything like that. I went to a BLM rally. I filmed it. I supported this local rally and everything. I marched with them. The organization is obviously complete and utter shit at this point. Has totally discredited themselves every step along the way. But the point of it all, the police brutality and stuff, obviously most people do support that. So the king didn't have any issue when, in the name of being anti-police brutality, we set up like the Chaz in the shop and we burned down the Starbucks and we smashed up the AutoZone by a guy who's a white supremacist who seemed to be like the autistic internet did their digging and they found the guy who smashed the AutoZone window to be a little sus, to say the least. You can look into it. But yeah, when we're attacking each other, they don't give a shit. They support it. They come out and they condone it and they say, good, thank you for protesting. This is a very important movement. As soon as you say, I don't like the way government's going, you're a racist, you're a Nazi, you've got these flags, these Nazi flags, or as Joe Biden would say, flying Nazi flags, and all this... the homelessness thing. Apparently they were stealing from the homeless because some of them went to a soup kitchen and got some food, which it sounds like the soup kitchen gave them the food kind of out of support, but they're stealing from the homeless. I don't really know the full details of the story, but even if they walked in and robbed the homeless of their soup at gunpoint, that's not necessarily indicative of this entire movement, just like smashing the AutoZone isn't entirely indicative of every single person who has, said something about Black Lives Matter. David Fight says, to be fair, that was all in the U.S. Was it all in the U.S.? I was going to ask, were there these BLM stuff, rallies, riots, whatever in Canada going on? Because if not, did Trudeau come down to the U.S. to support them, or was he supporting them up there? I don't really know, but whatever. Let's listen to more from the King.
Chosen to not go anywhere near protests that have expressed hateful rhetoric, violence towards fellow citizens, and a disrespect of that. But I have also chosen to not go anywhere near protests that have expressed hateful rhetoric, violence towards fellow citizens, and a disrespect, not just of science, but of the frontline health workers and, quite frankly, the 90% of truckers who have been doing the right thing to keep Canadians safe, to put food on our tables. Canadians know where I stand. This is a moment for responsibility.
How do you, in 48 seconds, make the claim that you support certain protests, but you support certain protests like BLM, but you don't support anything that encourages violence or harms anybody or whatever is anti-science? The BLM people weren't wearing the masks that you claim are the science, dude. Are they science deniers? There's so much word salad here. It's hard to keep up with.
Leaders to think carefully where they stand.
David Fight meant Chaz. Chaz. Yes, that's true. Where is the one where he says, I think
many Canadians who've made donations to the Shepherds of Good Hope and to the Terry Fox Foundation in response to what they saw this weekend. There is no place in our country for threats, violence, or hatred.
Okay.
So to those responsible for this behavior,
where?
It needs to stop.
Where? Who?
To anyone who joined the convoy but is rightly uncomfortable with the symbols of hatred and division on display, join with your fellow Canadians. Be courageous and speak out. Do not stand for or with intolerance and hate.
Good God. This has nothing at all to do with hate of anything except for you and your fucking bullshit mandates, you hack.
There have been many, many protests over the past years that I've seen, that I've been part of, that I've watched from a distance on Parliament Hill and elsewhere, where people come together angry about a certain thing, wanting something else to change, that don't see the level of hateful rhetoric, of swastikas, of abuse towards their fellow citizens. There's always a right to protest peacefully.
I still haven't seen the pictures. I'm sure they exist, but if somebody carried a Nazi flag to a BLM thing, the news wouldn't automatically go that BLM rally was a pro-Nazi, anti-minority or anti-Jew rally or something like that. Like, this is just so stupid. This is so lazy, and it feels like what I would put money on it being, that they got some people to go out there and fly some flags, and then those people left. They went out, hoisted the flag, took the picture, took the flag down, went home before they got their ass kicked. That would be my guess, and I suspect that Minnie Castro here knows it.
That I and others will defend fully as part of this democracy. There is not a right to incite violence.
Who?
To perform acts of violence.
Now, I agree with all the things you're saying. I just want you to point to where those things are happening that you have such an issue with. What are you talking about, man? Oh, Lord, let's wrap this thing up. This is just a headline. I'm vaccinated, boosted, and had COVID-19. Can I go back to normal now? Here's the thing, Jamie Dirchman. Yes, we all did. The truckers are working on it. You can work on it. God bless you for getting vaccinated and boosted and having COVID-19 and still asking the question, do I still have to keep, walking on my knees? That's next, right? If it's that should be the next mandate. If COVID only exists between the restaurant doorway and the table, but once you're down to the table level, then it doesn't matter. The new mandate should be everybody literally walks groveling on their knees, begging for forgiveness, begging for the normal back, right? That's how we should function. That's pretty much what you're doing here. And this should be like things, not necessarily like this, but things like the Canada thing should be promising. And actually, this should be a little bit promising. This should be a little bit of a white pill as well. People are asking the question, hey, we did all the things. We followed all the rules. Every single rule you fucking made up, I did them. Now can I please be done? That is the last step before I did all the things, I'm done, right? Like, how long can you keep asking the question and getting a no before you say, yeah, I'm just going to, fuck you. I think that a lot of people are going to wake up because of stuff like this, because of, the truckers and all that stuff. And when they have to fight that hard to convince you that a bunch of hard middle-class, middle American, or middle whatever, Canadian middle-class truckers are the enemy, the bad guys, because of things that they can't even point to that were dangerous. Like, they don't even have an Ashley Babbitt to point to. They don't even have a smashed-in window to point to. They've got, like, a little bit of graffiti and a flag. And now this is like a racist movement. When you start to see them attack that hard, I've been saying it for weeks, it's good. But you got to be a little, still stay on your toes, because the enemy, the evil in the world that is trying to destroy your life, that hates you and only loves what you can give to it, it's retarded. It's retarded. It's flailing. Keep in mind, it has retard strength too. And an angry, flailing retard is something that's scary. Just ask, I don't know. I was going to make a joke, but I probably shouldn't name a name, because that's usually where YouTube and Twitter draws the line, is when you call somebody that, whatever. But yeah, this should be a little bit of a red pill or a white pill or a whatever pill. And if that's not good enough for you, if that's not enough of a white pill for you to have a good week until we get to Dave Smith tomorrow, how about this? Try this one on. How about as of tomorrow, which I think is today, today, as of today, Denmark admits the failure of all COVID control measures, including vaccines. In less than 12 hours, this comes from Alex Burenson, Substack.com. You know it's super legit. In less than 12 hours, fact check it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Fine, but let me know. In less than 12 hours, Denmark turns into Florida. No masks except possibly in hospitals and nursing homes. No vaccines, passports, blah, blah, blah. None of the things. They're done with it. Denmark is done. They're moving on. They're going back to normal. They're not asking. They're saying we're going back to normal. I am curious what the people in Denmark, how they have gotten it to this point, because most governments, no matter how happy they are, don't just give up the power on their own. So I am curious if there were, protests or things that led to this. It might just be that Denmark is more reasonable. I couldn't tell you. But Denmark is more based than we are. Canada is more based than we are these days. France. Fucking France, you guys. So, the least we can do is say something. Start, if you haven't been doing it, I'm not saying you haven't. I know, David Fight and some people in the chats, they go around talking about some of this stuff and preaching against it, just the same as I am. Do whatever you can. Call your congressman or your senator or whatever. I don't know what needs to happen. But keep doing what we're doing here, because there are people that are... Okay. The narrative is collapsing. The entire narrative is collapsing. We're seeing people like CNN, like about face on some of this stuff. They're walking it back, which is good. It's falling apart almost as fast as this. As fast as a Pittsburgh bridge. And if that's not a happy enough analogy to use, the whole thing is currently being spearheaded by this guy. Oh man, my joke doesn't work nearly as well when Twitter doesn't play the video. The whole thing is being spearheaded by this guy.
I might point out, you're when I went to Dearborn, driving that, was up there. I don't know, man. I think the press thought I was crazy. I enjoyed it so much going up and.
So the world is a depressed, sleeping monkey that Jimmy Fallon and Paris Hilton will buy as NFTs one day. That is the system right now. That is the elites. That's what we're up against. Same as last week, same as the week before, same as it'll be next week. So let's keep talking about it. Let's keep shining lights into the darkness and keep our head up because things are turning. Things are turning in what seems to be a good direction. Who knows what they'll pull out over the next week, but in the meantime, let's have a good laugh because that's all we can do sometimes. Laugh at the king until he is sad and sleepy. Thank you guys so much for being here for this much longer than anticipated episode. 2 hours and 6 minutes. Great. Cool. It's always going to be. I don't care. Whatever. If you want even more, if you're not through with the punishment, come on over, join the Downers Club. It will help me. It'll help this show. Help us keep getting bigger and better, more beautiful every single week. And tomorrow, patreon.com/The System Is Down, and we'll be going into the after party. Yes, we're still doing an after party here in just a moment. And tomorrow, Dave Smith going to be on the show, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, Corn Time. Be there. It's happening. Come hell or high water, it's happening. Okay, it is happening tomorrow, 7:30. Dave Smith live right here. Let's do it. Thank you for being here. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for exploring the world with me and for sharing a laugh at the apocalypse with me. This has been the apocalypse news, the anti-news, the least comfortable show on the web. The System Is Down. I appreciate you all, and I thank you. Good night. Good luck. Godspeed. Question everything. Stay uncomfortable. We'll talk to you next time. Until then, bye-bye.
Dun, 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 dun.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe on your way out and help us change the world one uncomfortable conversation at a time. And if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, go join the Downers Club at patreon.com/The System Is Down for bonus episodes of the show every single week. Until next time, please continue to question everything, stay uncomfortable, and I'll talk to you then. Thanks.
This has been a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.